today I have the honor and the absolute privilege to welcome Dr. Himanshu Rai, who is the current director of IIM Indore. He has been a professor at IIM Lucknow and is an alumnus of Indian Institute of Management, Ahmedabad. His core area is human resource management, wherein he focuses on negotiation, leadership, and ethics. As the convener of CAT 2010, he successfully led the largest format change in the world's testing history, exceeding all global standards of testing. Sir, it's an honor to have you over here, and I cannot wait to have your wisdom shared with the rest of the audience. So the first question is very relevant in today's time, and that is, where do you think the education industry is heading, and what are the changes that these schools are taking post-COVID?
So thank you very much, first of all, to begin with, Pratna, and a very good afternoon to everyone. First of all, to me, education is a field and not an industry, and that is the perspective that I've always taken so far as education is concerned. And the education in any case, so there are two elements which I would like to slightly expound upon as of now. Whether the COVID happened or not, education as a field was moving inexorably towards an autodidactic world, which means we were moving towards a world where participants would choose when and how do they want to consume education, when and how do they want to take up courses, what kind of courses, so on and so forth. That is one. The second thing is, in any case, the fourth industrial revolution is underway, again, with or without COVID. And therefore, the kind of skill sets which are going to be required post the fourth industrial revolution are going to be very different from those that are currently there in vogue, both in terms of the courses and programs which are being given out by the educational institutions in higher education. Not just particularly business education, but in higher education as such. And therefore, I think we are moving towards that any which way. The one thing that COVID has brought about, and that is, it has accelerated the use of technology to deliver these programs. So no longer are we looking at going online or coming up with blended programs, say 5 years, 6 years from now. Blended programs are being given out now. And even today, the business schools, which earlier had not thought of offering blended courses, are now doing so, both in terms of flagship courses as well as their executive programs. So I think this is where education as a field is headed, going more towards the fourth industrial revolution skills, going more towards blended pedagogy, going more towards also figuring out in being a part of the larger ecosystem, because I think that is one thing that educational institutes of higher education have not really invested in. So for example, one of the things I have said on multiple media and multiple fora, that institutes of higher education has not really contributed towards nation building and community as they could have. I'm not saying nothing has happened. We have done, but we haven't done enough. And I think once again, this COVID pandemic has made us realize that we need to also do something for the community within which we operate as an educational institution. And we need to also participate in nation building in terms of addressing those concerns that the country faces.
So basically, we were focusing on a particular area, and the whole pandemic has forced us, or more like it has asked us to look at the bigger picture and look beyond what we were actually focusing on.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Right. So coming to the second question, Dr. Rai, an international survey was conducted by a higher education consulting and digital marketing firm, where a lot of business school deans responded saying that they think that this health crisis that is caused by the COVID-19 pandemic will accelerate the closure of business schools. What are your thoughts on that?
They try to update their skills, and particularly when they know that economy is shifting in terms of a paradigm, which means that there are some categories of jobs which are going to disappear completely. There are some industries which are going to disappear completely, and there's going to be a new set of industries, new set of organizations, and new set of skill sets which would be required. And therefore, for individuals to update themselves to those new skill sets is going to be of paramount importance. And therefore, some business schools, which are good business schools, are going to do very well, while the ones which were not good are going to fall by the wayside.
Absolutely, I completely agree with you. Now, the process of evaluation plays a major role as the field, as you say, of education. And how do you think that the regulators need to change on, how they evaluate, and how is IIM Indore actually heading towards that change?
So, most IIMs, and of course, I know of IIM Indore in particular, but having taught in another IIM and having studied in another IIM, I know that all the IIMs in any case have a method of continuous evaluation, number one, and different methods of evaluation. So for example, for all our courses, we have some written exams, we have something called the class participation, which you will not find in many business schools, certainly not in India. You'll find it only in the top business schools in the world. Then we have group assignments, we have group activities, and we also have certain presentations which are in class. So in any case, IIM Indore believes in continuous assessment, like most IIMs. I think I can vouch for most of the IIMs as well. We believe in continuous assessment, and we continue to do so. I think so far as the assessments by other institutions of higher education, for that matter, even schools is concerned, that is where regulators will need to step in, and they will need to figure out different methods. And here, Pratna, I think I want to make a point which personally to me is very, very significant. Now, this comes from my experience. We have a component called class participation. And in there, we look at how did people react and respond in the classroom while we were teaching. So let's say a question was asked, whether it was a cold call question, which means that I asked a particular individual, or whether it was a question which was thrown open to everybody, how did people respond? What was the quality of the interaction that they subsequently engaged in? Now, some of the students, I remember this was about 5 years back, they came to me and said, Prof, look, while this is great, but some of us hesitate to speak in the classroom. And therefore, if you can give us an opportunity to write down what we wish to, it would be great. So what I did was that apart from having a class participation component, which was in the class, I also wrote a small blog for each of my classes. And then I asked students to respond to it in writing. And obviously, then I would check their responses and then gave them marks even for that class participation, which happened not there, but in terms of a writing thing. And this was simply to kind of ensure that not everybody is amenable to the same assessment tool. So I think the regulators have to also look at these individual differences. Some people are good at writing, some people are good at speaking, and therefore we should not have somebody being at a disadvantage simply because the person does not have the ability to either write or speak. So I think we will need to have a holistic system. The regulators will need to come out with a holistic system, and it'll be great. The regulators would be well advised to put some of the academics from good institutions of higher education and create a task force which can then give them some valuable suggestions.
Beautifully explained. I think the holistic system is going to actually make a huge difference. Okay, if I ask you that, what do you think is the USP of IIM Indore, because of which the student would actually go ahead and join the institute?
You know, Pratna, if you look at our mission statement, and this is something that I have spoken enough, and I keep drilling it into the internal constituency of IIM Indore, we talk about three things so far as IIM Indore is concerned. One is that we are a contextually relevant institute. The second is that we have world-class academic standards. And the third, which to me is the USP, is that we are a socially conscious institute, which means that IIM Indore believes not just in imparting quality education, not just in creating leaders and entrepreneurs who are both inclusive and responsible, but we also do a lot for the society, and we believe in participating in nation building much more actively than any other institution that I know of. And to give you a few examples, For example, we realize that 833 million people, which is, by the way, more than the population of entire Europe combined, live in the villages so far as India is concerned. And therefore, we have a program called the Rural Engagement Program, where all of our students go and live in a village. They don't go and visit the village, but they live in a village for a week, find out what the problems of those particular villages are, and then suggest solutions, and then work with the district administration to actually address those solutions. Likewise, our students go to the Himalayas, and I happen to be a mountaineer and in love with my Himalayas. I call them my Himalayas. And all my students go to the Himalayas in something called the Himalayan Outbound Program. And then they look out for the problems which villages in the Himalayan region face, because problems that people face in the mountains are very different from the problems of the people on the plains. And then once again, try to address those problems. Besides, we engage a lot with the local community, with the MSME, because this is what Indore and Madhya Pradesh are known for, the micro, small and medium enterprises. And we do a series of programs for them. And over and above this, IIM Indore is extremely connected to the environment. So we were the first ones who banned plastic, single-use plastic in the campus, even before the government came up with the notification. So we did that, and we gave copper bottles to all the faculty and the staff at IIM Indore, and we now use copper. We went for massive greenification. We are moving from non-renewable energy sources to renewable energy sources. As we speak, we have solar panels being put up in the campus. The expanded campus that we have planned is going to be a net zero campus, which means all its energy requirements will come from non-renewable energy. We are saving water. We have also created something called a spiritual garden, which gives people a place to actually reflect and introspect. So I can keep talking about all of these, and not to mention another one, which is again unique to IIM Indore, that we have a dog shelter. So all our strays are well taken care of. All strays outside and around the campus, or a wounded dog is brought into that shelter, fed twice, taken care of in terms of regular veterinarian visits. And our students can actually take them out for a walk and then bring them back in. So I think this socially conscious concept, that is our USP.
Absolutely. They truly are very, very unique. In fact, I have not really come across any of such USPs before, and they truly caught my attention as well. Now, sir, since your core area is human resource management, do you have any advice for the startups that are trying to create a company culture right now, especially since because of the pandemic, things have really, gone a little haywire, especially for the startups. They don't really know how to go about it. So do you have any advice for them?
Pratna, this is a subject that I've spoken on a lot with a lot of not just startups, but also family-owned businesses who face the same problem. That while the head of the family-owned business has a particular set of values in mind, it does not percolate down to the organization for multiple reasons. One of the reasons, of course, is that all family-owned businesses try to hold the organizations very close and very tightly, rather than delegating and letting the organization grow, or developing a second line of leadership. My advice to the startups would be, you have to take care of three things. One is that you need to articulate the vision of your startup very, very clearly right in the beginning. See, everything is derived from the vision. Why? Because vision is a philosophical statement about what kind of an organization do you want to become? What kind of a world and an ecosystem do you wish to create? And what are your core values, which you will never abandon no matter what? The problem with some of the startups is that they start with a particular, not really a vision, but it is more of a medium-term set of goals. But subsequently, let's say you have a VC coming in, and VC says, no, I think you should go this way. And then when other people come in, putting in their money, the startups start going all over the place. And then they actually lose sight of what was the primary reason for which they actually started in the first place. Once you have a vision statement, your vision statement is going to drive the entire organization. So my first suggestion would be, have a vision statement. The second statement is, make sure that your behavior is in line with your vision. So for example, if you have said that our core value is working diligently, in that case, your own behavior should actually exhibit diligence, which means everything that you do, you must be very particular to make sure that you're dotting the I's and crossing the T's and so on and so forth. You're not deviating from what you have said your core value is. So, and all of this is driven to me because I had the good fortune of starting my corporate career with the Tatas. I worked with Tata Steel for 8.5 years after my engineering before deciding shift into academics. And it's also a coincidence that in another 2.5 hours, starting 5:30, we would be interviewing Mr. T.V. Narendran, the CEO and MD of Tata Steel, for something that we are doing with a particular media group. And I will be remembering and reminiscing my good old Tata Steel days. And Tatas stand for their core values. Why? Because they're very well defined. And no matter what, everyone in the organization knows that these are the core values that we stand for. And you cannot deviate. I mean, make a mistake. By all means, all of us will make mistakes. There is not going to be any penalty if you made a mistake, at least so far as Tata Steel was concerned. But if at all you violated a core value, you were out. It was as simple as that. And this is the second suggestion, therefore, I would want to highlight for the startups, that have your core values defined and make sure that your behavior is in line with those core values. And you are communicating this vision and communicating these core values as often as you can, as frequently as you can, to everybody in the organization. So everything that you send out, your for example, your letter pad, your visiting card, any communication that you send out, the email communications that you send out, should have a line which actually talks about your vision or your core value. Why? Because the more you repeat it, the more you internalize it. Number two, the more you tell it to the outside world, the more pressure on you to actually follow it. Because one of the philosophies that I have always followed is that if you really want to do something, announce it to the rest of the world. Because then the rest of the world is going to point out and remind you that, hey, you promised this. Are you doing this? Even a small thing like, let's say, I'm going to exercise every day starting tomorrow. Just announce it to the world. Your friends, your family, they're going to remind you that, hey, you did not exercise today, whereas you had promised that you're going to do this every day. So this is my advice to the startup, these 3 points.
Beautifully explained, using real life examples, and especially the point where you said that you should announce it to the world, and then the rest of the universe will take care that you're right on track, actually.
Paulo Coelho, alchemist.
Absolutely. Now, the last question that I have for you is, any piece of advice or wisdom that you would like to provide to the MBA aspirants?
I normally talk about 3 things, which is something that I call the 3 Ps to all the MBA aspirants. And they're pretty much in line with whatever I have told, even for the startups. And the first thing I want to tell the MBA aspirants is, make sure that you have the purpose of your life well defined. Don't go for an MBA just because the rest of the world is going to do it. Don't go into a particular field of study because the rest of the world wants to do it. So for example, when I had done my class 12, I went into engineering not because I wanted to, because that was the only thing that was known to me. And that is what my parents, in particular, my dad, wanted me to become. I didn't have a choice. I didn't even think of one. But now you have lots of choices, not just in terms of their existence, but also in terms of the information available to you. So don't go into something if it is not what you want to do, because today's time is such that you can be whatever it is that you wish to do. So figure out that you are going into an MBA program because you want to go into it, and not simply because you have joined some kind of a rat race. Because I keep reminding all people that, remember, even if you win a rat race, you will still be a rat. You may be the fastest rat, you may be the biggest rat, you may be the largest rat, but you're still a rat. So might as well do whatever it is that you wish to do. Second, make sure that whatever it is that you're doing, you are passionate about it as well. Because without passion, it'll be impossible for you to maintain the momentum of whatever it is that you wish to do, be it an MBA, be it any other program that you wish to do. And the third thing is that you need to have perseverance. So remember, we do have, while I would love it to be in the kind of a world where everybody has the chance to study in whatever institution that they wish to. 240,000 people write CAT. And I wish I had the wherewithal to give admission to all 240,000 people. We don't. IIMs don't. And therefore, remember that if at all you do not make it to an IIM or you do not make it to an institution of your choice, that is not the end of the world. First of all, MBA is not your life. It is just one of the milestones in your otherwise long life. And there are multiple ways of reaching wherever it is that you wish to reach. And number two, just because you haven't made it once, don't give up. Perseverance is the key to everything. So continue to work hard, and I'm sure you will either get where you wanted to in terms of an institution, or this I can assure you, you will get eventually wherever it is that you wanted to. Perhaps the path that you will choose is going to be a little different.
You truly threw light on the most important things that we usually miss out on. And thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule for this. We would love to have you back. Thank you so much for doing this with us.
My pleasure, Pratna. Thank you very much.
Thank you.